Okay, Wednesday, middle of the week, 8/28, 2019. We are still working this week on our special sales series. And this is a really important one. Actually, this is came out of a book by Brian Tracy called The Psychology of Selling. I'm a big fan of Brian Tracy. There's other sales trainers and in books that I would recommend it more holistically, let's just say, than all of his works. But one of the best ones that he'd ever written was The Psychology of Selling. It's a very, very good read. I've read through that one probably several times in my time. And so this is a tool for you, a very important tool. So here we're talking about the opportunity here again today for learning more about sales. So if you're new to the morning mindset, get yourself a pen, get yourself a notebook, write down some things that you learned today so you can get some fire in your cup and get your day started. Middle of the week, as they call it in the employee world, hump day. I don't think entrepreneurs or professional salespeople really look at one day to be different than the next, except for like what I talk about sometimes on Fridays, right? So when you find out what features or services your prospect is most interested in, focus it as your nucleus. Okay, so what are we talking about? Especially if you're dealing with complex sales. Let's say if you're selling software, or if you've got business management services and your sales deck is 25 slides long, or whatever it might be when you're dealing with a complex market. Every single prospect is going to have different things that they get excited about. Now, as I've told you guys in the past, it's very important to have the individuals that you're selling to or presenting opportunities to or whatever it might be do the majority of the talking, right? So you can kind of do a discovery of what is going to be the most viable presentation or information that you provide for them. Well, everyone's a little different and you don't want to make assumptions. So let's say you've had 5 or 6 really good sales calls and you've kind of got your engine turning a little bit, knowing that the 4 or 5 features that the last 4 companies were interested in seem to be a primary driver, right? They seem to be what almost everyone you're speaking with is interested in. Now, that may be the case. And when you're doing your brief introduction in the beginning of an opportunity, you may focus on those 4 or 5 points. But the elevation of the conversation, the questions being asked, and the interest level from your participating um, uh, uh, sales opportunities, your clients, your prospects, it's going to end up on a nucleus of some sort. They're going to come in, they're going to say, listen, I'm most interested in X. Could you show me more about this? I can see how this part of the program is actually going to really help our organization. So during the conversation, you're going to discover that there's a nucleus to their interest. And it is never everything you sell. Okay, it never is. And most people don't buy because of every single point in the program. Quite often, a lot of times they won't even use some of the technology or the services that you have. For example, I'll just give you, I've done a lot of sales of the Titan MLM system, which is an incredibly good system for multi-level marketing companies. And for a long time, we were building this technology and putting a tremendous amount of effort into the features of the technology, of what's possible for the distributors to come in and use, like different tools for social media, CRM tools, calendar management systems, the ability for them to upload lead lists and email, all kinds of neat features that we put into the system. Well, what I discovered through the sales cycle and also through owning a few different network marketing companies myself, I've actually owned and operated a couple, was that distributors very infrequently, at least the majority of them, they never log in. The only time they log into the back office is if they think they earned a commission. And so I learned over time as an owner of a multi-level marketing company that the packed in features, the number of opportunities for distributors in the back office were just not as important as the content management and the actual display of media that they would be using. In other words, the sales decks and the presentation pieces, the videos. And so for me, even as an owner in a multi-level marketing company, if I was to be approached by someone selling a system, I would be a lot more interested in how the media that the distributors have access to is accessed. How easy is it for them to push buttons to share in social media, for example? And there would be a failure if a company came in and just started really just tacking down on all the features of their system, when I already know my interest level would be, well, how easy is it to share the opportunity with your system? How fast can they push videos out to social media, right? Those kinds of things would be of higher interest to me, no matter how packed the software was. And so if I was the person that had the nucleus in that particular situation, the salesperson would realize, well, Beto's actually most interested in how well we do with our content, how well we do with our design work, how well we do with our video management, and how easy it is for their distributors to share. So if someone was selling to me in that environment, they would quickly learn what my nucleus was, which is what parts of our system do the distributors need to access to immediately start sharing the opportunity. Now, in a case like that, the individual would continue speaking to me about that part of the system, because as we've talked about before, it's very important to understand the vision of the company or the owner that you're dealing with. What are they casting their mind into the future on? And for me, it would have been how fast, how simple, how easy can my distributors join and start sharing the media. Now, all the other features are great. So again, we'll just kind of continue to use this as an example. Leaders in network marketing, just continuing down this example, they'll come in and use all the features. They'll come in and they'll upload lead lists. They'll come in, buy data, put stuff in the system. They'll come in and use the calendar part of it. They may even use the entire CRM system itself because they're experts. They're master distributors in that, for instance, and they're looking for all of the tools. Well, that's usually about 3% of the distribution market in a multi-level marketing company. The majority of the distributors will blog in sometimes, but if they've got access to the video, they got access to the share tools, they'll use those on a daily basis. And so even though I definitely want all of the features for my leaders, I'm going to think more about the population of distributors that I have and what they're going to be able to access quickly, easily, and immediately. So if a salesperson was talking to me, they would be like, well, that's Beto's nucleus. That's what matters to him, okay? So when you find out what features or services your prospect is most interested in, focus it as your nucleus. Once you understand what their highest level of interest is, that's when you want to keep talking about that particular thing. Wouldn't it be great if your company had that? Man, I could see how that would work with the things that you guys are doing. I'm glad that you see the value in that, right? It's not great that we've talked about this feature, but prospect, I've got 15 other features to get through, and I've got to tell you about all of them. If you don't focus on what they're interested in or what they spike on or what they get excited about, the rest of the conversation becomes background noise to them, because nobody in their right mind, unless they're an Einstein, and there I am letting my phone disrupt us again. I gotta remember to turn that off. Sorry, everybody. I am turning off my phone. And there we go. Sorry about that. So back to what I was saying. So once you understand what the prospect's most excited about, that's your nucleus. Stick to it. Keep that as the main part of the conversation. Keep bringing that portion of it back up. Keep going back and forth with them, helping them discover how much that item or that set of items or those features are going to help their company, right? Get into a creative discussion with them. If, For example, if I got excited about a system that allowed my distributors to really share the information easily, like I've been talking about, well, then start playing that forward. Yeah, I could totally see how that's going to work for your people. How are they doing it now? Like, how are you sharing media now? Oh man, it's kind of difficult. We have a couple videos on YouTube, whatever it is. Well, I could see how replacing that with this system would streamline that. So you just keep the discussion going around that nucleus. Once they're interested in something that's foundational, move that conversation forward. And I deal with a lot of software demos from the companies that I work with, my own companies as well. And some of even my partners will even get a little frustrated sometimes because they're trying to give a demo. They're like, oh well, we only have 20 minutes left, and I haven't shown these other 25 things. Where I'm driving the conversation with the individual, and I'm sticking to what it is that I know they're interested in, and I'm getting them excited about it because when they buy, okay, when they finally actually purchase from you, the reality is they buy for only a couple of reasons. It's never because of everything in the system. Now, there may be an analyst in their company that comes in and does a massive comparison between your system and the next system, right? Everyone's always got that analytical person in their company. I've got a couple of those people. And so in that environment, things are a little bit different, but that's normally not the decision makers when you're dealing with sales. Okay, most of the time, the decision makers are going to coin on something that's, excuse me, that's simple. Okay, something very simple, something that's cleaned up compared to the rest of the features of the services, and they're really going to drive their mentality to picking up a pen and writing a check and signing a contract based on how they can take those variables and move it forward into the vision of their company. So if you discuss other features and details, work to draw them back to the ones you know they are excited about. You don't want to skip the presentation, especially if for whatever reason those features that they're most excited about doesn't play into understanding their purchase altogether. Because in the end, they do need to understand everything that they're buying, okay? But if you become very good at this, if you are professional about the way you understand this model, this nucleus that they have, you'll draw all of the other features back to it, okay? That's the most important piece of that, okay? So let me just give you an out of the chute example, back to me buying a multi-level marketing system. Beto, I want you to know that the CRM comes packed with a lot of stuff. There's calendar systems. There's a way for distributors to upload their lead list and actually send out mass emails. There's a lot of these other features. And as your distributors, okay, get engaged with this program I know you love the most, where they can share quickly and they can get the media out, and that's very, very simple for them to use, they're going to be exposed to the rest of these opportunities. So the professionals in your business will start to actually utilize some of the other tools that we have. But if you notice what I just said there is I coined that based off of what my interest would have been. I've moved that conversation forward a little bit into making sure they understand everything that they're buying, but pulling it back into the nucleus, pulling it back into the features that I know that they're most interested in. And this takes some creative work, right? This takes some dialogue and some planning. When you're speaking with people, you'll get a lot better at doing that, okay? It's taken me a number of years to get really good at understanding this part of the path, okay? So if you discuss other features and details, work to draw them back to the ones you know they are excited about, okay? Very important, because people are emotional buyers. Okay, it's never a logical purchase unless you're really dealing with a large corporation and it's going through a compliance team and then it's going through an onboarding team. I mean, if you're dealing with kind of a top-down model a lot of times, for example, any of you in my program that are selling priority commercial payments, there's usually quite a number of things that happen before they decide to get into that payment program. So unless you're dealing with large corporations from that perspective that are going through that compliance model, you're really just dealing with someone who's making an emotional decision. They want to be excited about it. They want to see that what they're buying from you is going to build better into the future, make them more revenue, make things easier for them. And that's an emotional experience that they have. Very infrequently is it because they pulled up 15 spreadsheets and talked to their team 400 times. It's because they're excited about it. Okay, and give you another example. An agency that we just got onboarded onto Geofence DSP, one of our products. I was sitting in their office. I actually flew to Minneapolis to actually meet with these guys, and the owner came in and sat down, and they were trying to work out with their legal team the contracting that we had provided. Okay, and this has actually been one of the stickiest contracting deals that I've ever done for a lot of reasons. But he said something very clearly to me, and it just made me laugh, and it kind of drawn it back to this. And his lawyers were saying, we don't understand the payment program. We don't understand how money's made. And of course, they'd never dealt with a DSP or with mobile marketing technology before as a law firm. And he said, so I'm just trying to understand what this is. And the owner looked me in the eyes and he goes, you know what I told him? And I'm like, tell me. He says, what I told him is it's exciting. This is exciting. That's what this is. And it just made me smile because I knew that particular owner had a nucleus with me. All right. And that was very specifically in this model that he was a direct mail company, but he was bringing this geofencing mobile marketing model to his direct mail infrastructure, right? He was adding the ability for him to take over digital marketing budgets. Now, that one thought was exciting to him. That is what has moved this entire business model forward. Now, he has an analyst in his company that I sat down with as well, and I was with him for an entire day. And this guy, man, he spreadsheeted this thing all the way down to the micro elements of exactly how money's made, the whole thing. He provided that to the owner. I don't know if the owner even looked at it, because he is more excited about the fact that he's going to be able to get into the digital marketing budgets of his clients, where he was mostly doing direct mail before that. And so that's where his mind was. That was his nucleus, is that I'm now going to be a digital marketing agency. That was the big deal. So I drew everything back to that format and those ideas. And even though the negotiations have taken as long as they have, I've continued to wrap that nucleus and keep the vision in the owner's mind that yes, you are going to take over the digital budgets of your customers, and so that's what's kept him the most excited. So that's just a kind of a real life example for you guys here of why this is so important to understand where the nucleus is. So when you find out what features or services your prospect is most interested in, focus it as your nucleus. If you discuss other features and details, work to draw them back to the ones you know they are excited about. Why? Because most owners are emotional buyers. Okay, I think most of us are, right? If we want to lose weight, we click on a banner and we go to a page and everyone looks nice and skinny and healthy, and we're like emotionally involved in it. We pull out our credit cards. That's just a really simple idea on a direct response conversion that really goes all the way up into the corporate level, so that you understand that it comes down to simple reasons that people purchase. Figure out what those reasons are in your dialogue and focus on them. All right, let's get some fire in our cups today. It's Wednesday, everybody. So this is the middle of the week. We can look at the top of the mountain. So we want to work as hard as we can today, but always remember you want to be working as hard as you can every day to make the things that you're trying to do with your business or in your sales platform very successful. Thank you for joining me. I will be here again tomorrow morning.